RX Television on RxMuscle.com. This is Iron Debate, the first Arnold Classic episode of Iron Debate in the year 2020. I'm your host, Dave Palumbo. This, of course, and all of our Arnold Classic coverage is powered by Chemical Warfare. Visit chemical-warfare.com. So this is going to be the first breakdown segment of the upcoming 2020 Arnold Classic. Again, hard to believe it is in only 3 weeks away. Let's meet our esteemed panel. We go first to Staten Island, New York, and meet Dominick Cardona. We were just talking about the fact that 5 years ago, at the age of 21, after he won his pro card, we had him in studio moments after he got his IFBB pro card. We go over to New Jersey and meet IFBB 212 Pro Guy Cisternino, and then, of course, to our Cape Coral studios in Florida and check in with Dave Palumbo. Dave, this is the first of many of the breakdowns we're going to have for the upcoming Arnold Classic.
Yeah, now's the fun time. The next 3 weeks, we get to really, get into the meat and potatoes of what we're going to see out there in Columbus. Obviously, I'll be there this year, which will be great. And, well, actually, I was there last year. I missed the Olympia this year. But I love the Arnold because it's I don't know. I like it, first of all, because it's in one big place. But there's so much going on everywhere you look. It's the energy level there. You don't have to. You could not sleep the whole weekend, and you just can't stop going because there's so much to see and do. And there's always controversy. And this, look, let's face it. And we're going to talk about this today. This might be the best Arnold Classic ever, at least that I can remember in recent memory. And hopefully everyone will come in good shape, because then it's going to be a real nail biter right down to the end, because we have a lot of great talent in this men's open lineup.
So let's actually do a quick run through of the open lineup just so you have familiarity with the names if you're not already familiar. Morgan Askew, who won the amateurs last year, Lionel Bayecki, William Bonac, Max Charles, Nathan Diasha, Big Ramy, Dexter Jackson, Johnny O. Jackson, coming out of retirement, Stephen Kuklo, Josh Lenardowitz, Victor Martinez, Cedric McMillan, 2017 champion, Patrick Moore, Sergio Oliva Jr., and Akeem Williams. Gentlemen, let's talk. I know, it's an amazing lineup. Obviously, Dave, as you said, historically speaking, maybe one of the deepest lineups that we've ever seen at the Arnold Classic. So let's talk from the top, prohibitive favorites. People are wavering between Big Ramy, William Bonac. They've had their battles at the Olympia. Dom Cardone, let's go to you first on this one. Who do you see as the prohibitive favorite for the 2020 Arnold Classic?
So like you just said, this is probably one of the best Arnolds ever, which I have to agree, especially in recent time too. My favorite coming out of this, I would like to say Big Ramy. And the reason is we haven't seen him compete in a while. He's had time to make improvements, get his mind right, because he had a lot going on between drama and Kuwait, getting out of Kuwait. He was also competing nonstop. He just couldn't nail it. I personally think if he comes in 100%, nobody's going to be able to touch him. And by 100%, I mean, this is going to be a game of conditioning, like Dave even just said. If everybody comes in shape, this is just going to be probably the best Arnold in history, because you got guys like Cedric. If he comes in peeled, he's deadly. Nathan, Dexter, Bonac, I mean, Sergio, which is one of my favorites too. But to win the show, I would have to say Big Ramy if he comes in 100% conditioned, because, nobody's going to be able to outsize him. If he's conditioned, that's it. It's a wrap.
It's crazy to say, but you mentioned Dexter Jackson. Dexter Jackson, we talk about obviously the 6 Arnold titles that he's won coming into this one at the age of 50 now. But so much of the talk so far has been between Big Ramy and William Bonac. Guy Cisternino, your prohibitive favorite heading into Columbus, Ohio.
I'm going to have to go and side with Dominic on this one, solely on shape, size, symmetry. I think Big Ramy has the tools to win the Olympia. So if I say he has the tools to win the Olympia, I'd be a fool to not say he has the tools to win the Arnold Classic. But a key word that Dominic kept saying, it was if. This one, if Ramy comes in shape, if Josh comes in shape, if Cedric comes in shape, there's a lot of guys. If Akeem comes in shape, there's guys on there that we've seen in shape, and then we've seen those same group of guys look like complete water buffaloes on stage. So this is Arnold of ifs, because if these guys show up, it will be a nail biter, but it's if. But Big Ramy's my favorite.
Dave, let's go to you, because we talk about the comfort level at the Arnold Classic, right? We've seen Cedric show up at his absolute best at the Arnold Classic and then not be able to nail it at the Olympia. We've seen Dexter Jackson make the Arnold Classic his home playing field. Heading into this lineup, this Arnold Classic, Looking at this lineup, who do you see right now, 3 weeks out, pegged at the top?
Well, here's a good statistic. How many shows has Ramy done other than the Olympia that he hasn't won? There's not many that he hasn't won, right? I mean, whenever he does these, he did Arnold Brazil, I think 1 year. He did the New York Pro twice. He's done a lot of shows where he's won, other than the Olympia. Seems like the Olympia, he doesn't nail it, or the competition's too good there and he's not able to do it. There was a couple of European tours where he didn't win, which I thought he actually should have won. So he's pretty good at winning other than the Olympia. So I think that this we'll probably see a look that's good enough to get by and grab the victory, But William Bonac notoriously peaks in the early part of the year. Okay, we've seen him at the Arnold last year. I mean, I would have had no problem with him winning that Arnold Classic over Brandon Curry. It was, you could just flip a coin. That's how good both of those guys were. If Ramy is not, super polished, Bonac will win this show easily. I think he's a guy who could take out Ramy, and it's funny because he's one of the shorter guys too, I think that guys like Patrick Moore can make Ramy look bad if he's not in great shape. However, there's not going to be a guy on that stage that's going to be bigger, although maybe Morgan Asti might be pretty close, but he doesn't have the structure of Ramy. Ramy's going to be the biggest guy on stage, and so everyone's going to be looking at him. They're going to see him in the middle. Okay, they're going to see him, dominating in terms of space that he occupies on the stage. The question is, will he have the polish? And I think he will, because I think that he's had plenty of time. If he doesn't come in polished and he doesn't come in shape, I think he's done. I think that's it. That, in my mind, tells me this guy just doesn't have the head for it, because you can't come in that many shows in a row off. There's no more excuses left. Rulli Wink was running out of excuses too, in my book. And it's a good thing that I'm glad he actually pulled out of the Arnold, because he obviously is having some issues as well. So if Ramy can't put it together after being off an entire year, then I think that he better go back to the drawing board and see what's going on. I haven't heard any rumors as far as who he's working with. I don't know, Guy, if you heard anything like that?
No, I know he'll still bounce ideas off of Aceto, at least I think. But other than that,
I haven't heard any people staking claim to Ramy. Although if he wins, I'm sure there'll be 10 people who say they helped him.
Oh, they helped him, absolutely.
It's been actually very eerily silent around the Ramy corner, which is not what you would generally expect him heading into a big show. But let's talk more about Big Ramy. And the reason I say that is because, we haven't seen him since the 2018 Olympia, where he fell out of the qualification zone. He was going to do Tampa Pro, was going to do New York Pro, and then he suffered the shoulder injury. There were all sorts of rumors. He was working with Neil Hill. He had the breakup with Oxygen Gym. Mystery and drama have always seemed to surround him. And then, Dave, we caught up with Big Ramy at the Olympia, and he said he was in a good state of mind, that, he was looking at the Arnold Classic. But, Dom, let's go to you, because, again, you brought it up. There has been so much that has gone on with Ramy since that last Olympia appearance, with his camp at Oxygen, with the injury. And then there's always the surrounding question, can he finally nail it? Can he finally bring that look that we've been waiting on for years? In your opinion, will we finally see that 100% or close to of Big Ramy in Columbus?
I pretty much think, yes, it is possible. But, if it happens is the question. You have to look at it like this too. I remember posting a picture of Ramy that I just seen floating on the internet just when he turned pro in Q8 years ago, and he was much different physique back then. And once that picture went up, and then people started, you've seen it come all over the internet, and this guy went from being nobody to being one of the biggest next Mr. Olympias in the scene. So you have all that pressure being put into his head throughout the years. The drama between all the coaches fighting all over him, the Oxygen situation, him not showing up for shows in shape, the Olympia mainly, switching back and forth between coaches. I think if this quietness around him is because he has separated himself from drama, stood off social media as much, and just focused on what he has to do this past year going into the show, then we will see something that we should have seen years ago. So can it happen? Yes. The matter is, comes to the matter of, is his mindset where it needs to be to stay positive, keep the pressure off of him, and just going to the show, just worrying about what he has to do, and that's it. Not who's around him, not who's talking in his ear, or the pressures that are put on him every single year. So I think maybe him, falling behind everybody else did him a little bit of was a bit of a favor to him too, because it took him out of the limelight a little bit, took the pressure off him, even though completely the other way. but taking that pressure off him can help him big time going into the show.
Guy, I want you to double down on what Dave just kind of alluded to, in that the pressure on Big Ramy. And we talked about this heading into the last Olympia that he did, all the pressure that was riding on him. And once upon a time, there was that currency of hope with Big Ramy that one day we're going to see this unicorn. One day he's going to finally bring it. One day he's finally going to nail his condition. And then there comes a point where people's expectations start to sour. And then eventually they start to tune into the next guy, the next big thing. In your opinion, should Ramy come off? Should he utterly disappoint? In Dave's words, and I want you to reflect upon this, is he done?
I don't think he's done. I think he has to really reevaluate a lot of things if he's off again. Because I don't when the guys take a year off or 2 years off and then they come back and they look like complete dog shit, it's like, what did you do in that amount of time? Now, I don't think Ramy's going to be done, and I think Ramy's going to be 100%. And I'm going to say this, and I don't mean this in disrespect towards anybody out in Kuwait, but I think a place like Kuwait is good for people that need buckling down and maybe don't train as hard when they're home in their backyard, maybe need to be coddled a little bit. That place is good for those types of people, and maybe Ramy's just not that type of fucking dude. So being over there might have been the worst fucking thing for him. And maybe being in his own element, doing his own thing, not having drama with owners of gyms or coaches or who's up his ass or who's fucking him over or who's saying their word. Maybe this is and so if he doesn't, I'm expecting him to easily come in 100%. If he doesn't, he has to reevaluate if this is the right career choice. I don't think he would be done, but I think he really would need to reevaluate, because if you can't get it done in Kuwait and then you can't get it done on the opposite end of the spectrum, there is a huge problem.
Well, obviously, look, with Kuwait, there was the chapter where they built him up to becoming what he is. I mean, keep in mind, he started working out, I remember it was the 2015 Olympia, and he said he'd only been working out for like a grand total of 5-6 years. Obviously, Oxygen Gym built him up to where he, became a pro bodybuilder and became one of the world's best. We don't know where he is over the last year. He's been bouncing between Kuwait, not Oxygen, but somewhere in Kuwait.
Dubai, I know.
Chapter in Dubai. Chapter him going back to Egypt. Guy, when I say done, I don't necessarily mean obviously he's going to retire, but I guess really what I mean to say is the weight of the pressure that's riding on him. Obviously, it is not the Olympia, but still, it is one of the most prominent stages in all bodybuilding. Do you think there is that additional weight of pressure riding on him, and how do you think he's going to respond in that manner?
I think Ramy's a really as much drama that surrounds him. I really think he's a level-headed guy. But the only pressure, and I don't know if people think this deeply, but it's kind of like having a hero and a villain. Like, everybody wants Ramy to be this hero and come and show up as this freak of nature, ripped, symmetry, crazy, no stomach, small waist. And when that doesn't happen time and time and time and time again, not saying he becomes a villain, but people try to look for another hero. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's like,
he's a good guy. He's easy to root for.
Yeah, I think Ramy's a very laid-back guy and doesn't think that in depth to things. I think he has pressure only because he took a year off. And if you don't come in after a year or so off 100%, you're gonna look like an asshole. And that's not Ramy. That's anybody that takes a year off to get better and comes in worse, and it happens a lot. You do look like an asshole.
Dave, let's go to you, because there have been different looks when you talk about the history of Big Ramy, right? 2015 came in too big. 2016 had the downsized appearance. 2017 came in arguably at his best, coming in a narrow second to Phil Heath. What kind of look do you want to see out of Big Ramy in 3 weeks?
Here's an issue, too, that I think a lot of people will not take into account. Big guys don't usually last that long in terms of, for some reason, their physiques break down. The smaller guys like Dexter, that are more proportional, they seem to be able to hang on a lot longer into their late 30s or early 40s, and if you're Dexter, into your 60s. But I mean, I just feel like Ramy's physique is not the same physique when we first saw it hit the market, so to speak, at that New York Pro. He had the small waist, the crazy billowy shoulders and everything like that. He's bigger, but like his proportion isn't better necessarily. His waist is a little thicker now, and that just happens with age, as you get older too. He's got injuries, so his certain body parts that were very dominant maybe are not as dominant. He's still the biggest guy on stage, let's face it. I think maybe at this point, maybe the expectations that we had that were realistic 5 years ago might not be realistic anymore. Now, having said that, that doesn't mean he can't show up in shape. The problem is, as he gets leaner and leaner and a little smaller, he loses some of that freaky wow factor. And I think that's why you start getting guys stopping. It's like they stop their prep. Guy, you know this. Dom, you know this.
Well,
people are afraid to go 100% and get ridiculously shredded because if they see themselves in the mirror and they think they're too small, they back off right away. They start eating more,
And I think that's why he took second at the Olympia that year, because that's exactly it. He lost that. He was in the best shape, but he didn't have that full round grainy look to him. His body was peeled but like dead.
Yeah, well, I think he was over dehydrated at that. I think they over diuretics him, but
yeah.
But so, it's like I think we might have unrealistic expectations. Now, had we seen Ramy at his ultimate best and we said, that's what we knew he was going to look like, we've seen him like that, we know he can accomplish that, now we could expect to possibly see him get back to that, but we've never seen him at our expectations of what we think he should look. Maybe he can't get there. Maybe that's just not his physique. I don't know. Maybe he needs to be 275. Chris Aceto had said that to be in the best shape of his life. And at 275, he's not going to be the biggest guy on stage. But it might bring in that level of conditioning that he really needs. And I don't know if Ramy's willing to go there because everyone has him in their head at 300. He's got to be 300 on stage because that's what we were brainwashed into thinking by the Camel crew out there, that Ramy is the biggest guy ever to hit bodybuilding. And he was. But he was also not the hardest guy we've ever seen. So it's a very sketchy, situation. And I think Ramy has to find what looks best for his body. And I don't think there's too many people at least there used to be too many people talking in his ear. It'll be interesting to see what look he picks for himself for this show. And maybe that'll be the right look. I don't know.
That's where I was going to go with this final point on Big Ramy. Dom, we'll go to you first on this one, because when you look at the lineup, right, and you look, I guess, his primary competition, which you figure is going to be William Bonac, obviously smaller than him. Dexter Jackson, obviously smaller than him. Many people are, I guess, a trendy pick. You want to call him Patrick Moore. Obviously, he brings a totally different look. If you're going to go by what Ramy has to bring in comparison to this lineup, what kind of a look do you want to see Ramy bring to the stage?
Well, like I said before, he just has to come in completely peeled down. If he's off to the slightest condition-wise, and these other guys come in shape, then that's it for him. He's not even cracking the top 5, in my opinion. This is a very, very competitive lineup. The look he has to bring is completely shredded. Does anybody know what weight he was when he won the New York Pro? Does anybody remember?
You never get an accurate weight on him. They said he was over 300, but who knows?
I don't know about that. I was there in person. So I was there in person at that show, and I remember he came out. I went there just to see him, and when he walked out, like Dave just said, that round popping look with the shoulders, his quads weren't detailed, but they were huge. His waist was small. I mean, to see that in person, everybody in this place was just mind blown. The place went crazy. If he can come in with that level of hardness, a little bit harder, but that freak factor without coming in with the soft look he's been bringing, then that's it. He just has to come in peeled to the bone, because that little slip up of condition in him, that's it. He's done in this lineup. And somebody else is going to sneak up right behind them, because you got guys in this lineup, numerous ones with great shape, proportion, and they all have the ability to come in, truly contest condition. And that's what it comes down to. I just want to see him peeled. We haven't seen him like that in years, and I think it's time that he finally just pulls it together.
Guy?
No, I mean, I agree. He's got to be peeled, but I think also we're failing to remember is that he also has to be full, because if he's not full, then he doesn't have that freak factor.
Yeah.
So as peeled as he has to get, there's got to be a balance of, like, he obviously is not a guy that can be 2% off. Him 2% off kills his entire physique. I'm one of those guys. I'm 2% off. I look like dog shit. Some guys can be 5% off and still win shows. Ramy has to find that balance of fullness to conditioning, because if one of those are off, even in the slightest, we've seen he does not look like he needs to on stage in order to win those big titles. He might be able to win the Tampa Pro, but he's not going to be able to pull it off at the Olympia or the Arnold when you have likings of Bonac and guys that Patrick Moore, guys that have shape, structure, and come being peeled.
Dave, final word out of you, because I look back to the 2017 Arnold Classic, and I remember Chris Aceto talking about Cedric McMillan winning, and how Chris said that the look was going to win that show was round. He needed to bring Cedric McMillan in round. You look at Rami versus this particular lineup. If you're dieting Rami, what kind of weight are you looking to bring him in? Are you looking to go more shredded but lose some of that size, or are you looking to strike a balance between the two?
I'm looking to get him as shredded as possible, okay, and then fill him up at the end. You can't fill someone up who's not shredded because it doesn't look good. So I agree with Guy. He needs to be full, but he needs to be shredded first. So, I mean, these last 16 weeks he's been dieting for the show. He should have been breaking his freaking ass, getting himself to be so grainy hard that at a week out, you could just fill him up the whole week if you have to, and then just take some of the water out, and he goes in. I mean, that's the formula that everyone uses that has success. You can't play the last week. You can't be playing catch up. Oh my God, I got to lose an extra 2 pounds. No, a guy like Ramy, if you're depleting him and trying to get him to lose weight, 3 days before a show, you're never going to fill him up properly. And if you fill him up without getting rid of that little last bit of weight, then he's not too hard. So if they're waiting until the last minute to get Ramy in shape, and we don't know because we haven't seen progress pictures, that's a big mistake. If he's ready to go in the next week or two, and he can just kind of coast into the show, he's going to be dangerous. Like I said, he's never really lost the show other than the Olympia, during the regular season. So I have to see him as the favorite here, even though Bonac is the highest ranking guy in the lineup, at least in my mind. Being second last year and being second at the Olympia, you have to say Bonac. So I don't know. It's the great thing about this show is that we don't know who's going to look good, and so it's exciting to see that. I can't wait to sit in the audience when all those guys walk out, for their 60 seconds of posing, and we can start critiquing them because we'll finally know for sure. Then that's when it really counts.
That's going to do it for this one. It is going to be a very, very exciting show. When you look at the top of the lineup, the middle of the lineup, and the back end of the lineup, it is a stacked 2020 Arnold Classic. That's going to do it for Dom Cardone, for Guy Cisternino, for Dave Palumbo, our producer Tyler Shore. I'm Sadiq Faruqi. We'll see you next time.